So let's talk about how to find coaching clients on different social media platforms. In this video, I'm really going to be focusing on what I consider to be the big two, which are Facebook and Instagram. The way in which you find clients on these platforms differs. There are certainly some pros and cons, some different ways to accelerate your acquisition model on each one. I'm going to be talking about those, and maybe by the end of this video, you will identify which platform is right for you. Let's get into it. Hey, and welcome to the channel. If you don't know me, my name is Jaron Bruman. I was a health coach, speaker, educator for almost 20 years, and I moved over into business strategy to help health and wellness professionals build, grow, and scale their business. So on the spectrum of financial stability as a health coach, personal trainer, wellness educator and whatnot, I have ran the gamut. I have been all over the spectrum. I have been absolutely dirt poor. I have crushed it to the point of where, hey, I don't have to worry about clients anymore. I'm going to go and open up a wellness center. I've been an educator helping companies run their certifications to actually teach coaches how to learn different modalities. I have been in the trenches. Now, at some point in my experience as an educator, I decided to make a move over into business strategy. And since that time, I have worked with a number of, I guess I would say professionals. I would go on to say big brands. I don't want to name drop, but I've also ran masterminds for different health professionals to help build their business, grow their podcast, and just scale different aspects of their brand. So when I say that there isn't one thing that absolutely works for everybody, I mean it. However, there are some strong framework principles, and that's what I'm really going to talk about here. And I'm hoping that by the end of the video, you have had some light bulbs, you've had some revelations, and you can really identify these are my strengths, so I'm going to lean into that. These are my weaknesses. I can work on that, but I don't need to worry myself about playing this game that I'm not particularly good at. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Now, as I'm talking about which platform is best for you, understand that there's a broader conversation that needs to happen. I'm going to have it very quickly here, okay? First of all, when it comes to building or growing, having a business, okay, there are three systems that I want you to primarily concern yourself with, okay? The first system is your acquisition, okay? This is your model of acquisition. This is how you are getting in front of more people. This is actually a step that not a lot of people commit themselves to, and yet it's a fundamental part of business. And whether business is going good or going poorly, nonetheless, a lot of that is going to start with, hey, how many eyes are you getting in front of? Your second system is going to be your system of relationship, especially as a coach. It's not so simple as hey, this is the service I provide, and hey, come and buy from me. Okay? Oftentimes we need to build relationship, and we need to have systems or structure in place in order to do that. The third system is going to be fulfillment, and this has a lot more to do with your specific service or how you actually want to serve. And I'll get into some of the nuances of one-on-one versus group. There are certain crafts or certain modalities that they have a longer, what you call customer lifetime value. So there are certain services where somebody comes to you once, maybe a couple times, and then they tend to be done. That doesn't always how it has to be, but that's how people think that they have to serve. And then there are other models, I'll use personal training as an example, where you can have clients coming to you repeatedly multiple times a week for years on end. That's a longer customer lifetime value. But nonetheless, a lot of, I would say, coaches that I talk to, their first problem tends to be that they don't know who their audience is. The second problem that they have is that they want to do something bigger. They want to create some kind of a service, be it an online program, maybe a membership or some sort of big offering, but they don't know exactly how it is that they're going to fulfill on that, okay? We're not going to be talking about that too much today. We're really going to be focusing on those first two systems, your model of acquisition and your model of relationship. So again, there are all sorts of mechanisms or nuances that we could get into as far as softwares and landing pages and closing mechanisms and whatnot. I'm not talking about that today. We're really just focusing on, hey, how am I getting in front of people and how am I building relationship with them? Again, as I'm getting into this, there are different ways to optimize that, but one of my goals here, and pretty much in all of my videos, is to not shiny object syndrome you. I don't want you to be focusing on this, having a great idea, but I can go and do this, and then I say something else, and oh wait, I'll go work on this over here. No, okay? We're going to be focusing on, hey, what's the best platform to find coaching clients? What is it, Facebook or is it Instagram? Okay, so let's start out by talking about Facebook, okay? Who is Facebook for? There are some big pros, there are certainly some cons. However, unequivocally, right off the bat, Facebook is a much more intimate platform. It's a place where you can actually see the ongoings of someone's life. And I am going to be talking a little bit about like Facebook profiles and Facebook groups. For the sake of argument, go ahead and write off like having a Facebook business page as a primary form of traffic acquisition. Facebook doesn't promote those. You need one to, let's say, run ads to your business, and I will talk about that because that's a huge factor in all this. You do need a business page to run ads, but it's not necessary for you to run your coaching business. So really, what am I talking about here? A personal profile. You can conduct so much business. You can get to six figures and beyond. I don't want to say easily, but like directly with that method. So what are some pros of Facebook? First of all, everyone is on it. I know that a case could be made about engagement and reach, but Facebook is still one of those platforms where people casually check in to see what's going on in the world. It's a very different mentality than another type of app, which they're opening for a specific reason. Okay, Facebook is just there; it's always in your face. And when it comes to coaching clients, specifically in the health, wellness, fitness, holistic space, anything, they tend to be, I guess I'm going to say older. I don't know. I'm going to 30 and above. I'm almost 40 years old, so it's like, I guess I'm older, but there tends to be a more mature demographic on there. And when I say mature, I mean individuals that are ready to go inward, that are looking for solutions, that their bodies are probably breaking down because we are getting older. I'm not in pain necessarily, but man, as I get older all the time, like I notice how hard it is for me to recover. Okay, so the point is that Facebook is a place where your ideal demographic is probably hanging out. Maybe they're not hanging out there as frequent. Maybe they're not going on there specifically for something like entertainment, which tends to be more like Instagram leaning. Okay, we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But the first pro here is that everyone is on it. The second pro might not seem like a pro, but it has to do with the formats in which you deliver media. Okay, now Facebook is fairly straightforward because it's like you make a post, and what's the first thing you see like as you're scrolling? It tends to be the text, and then maybe a photo, maybe a video. Okay, it's fairly straightforward. Yes, you have something like Facebook Reels, but it's not as Facebook Reels are not as dominant on there as they are on something like on Instagram. It's a fairly straightforward platform, and oftentimes you don't even have to have the text at the top, but it's a very direct way. People are familiar with what they're scrolling on. Okay, now again, that might not seem like a pro, but if you're the type of individual that doesn't like the hustle and bustle of trying to create all these different formats, you take something like Instagram, right? You have Instagram Reels, Instagram videos, carousels, stories, lives, right? DM, like there's all sorts of ways in which broadcast channels, all sorts of ways in which you can create media. Okay, and Facebook is just not. It's not that. Okay, so if you're the type of individual that likes to be maybe a little bit more straightforward and just not so complicated, Facebook is great for creating content. Now, the third pro, and this is probably the most important, Facebook is familiar. It's familiar, okay? You are friends with someone. You can see what they're doing. They can see what you're doing. Yes, I know that you can max out your friends, okay? And that tends to be a limiting feature, absolutely, okay? But they can still follow you, and you can still have other software. I mean, if you get to the point where you're maxing out your friends list, like 4,000 or 5,000 people, yes, there are softwares that you can use to help optimize the platform. But way before that time, you can already compile a huge list, I would say, of individuals who would or could be interested in what your expertise is. They get a chance to feel you. They get a chance to see you and hear you, right? So it's a much more familiar dynamic than something like, I guess I could say this about Instagram, maybe TikTok, where it's like, hey guys, just hopping on here. That's not oftentimes why we hop on Facebook specifically, okay? So when you combine the simple media formats with rapport and relationship, okay, right there you have familiarity. You have comfort, and beyond all that, you have safety. Now, I'll talk about all of that more in just a second here, but what are some of the cons of Facebook? The first con is probably cold traffic. I hate to apply such a blanket term to it, but at the end of the day, Facebook is not a place it's not strongly a place where your content is going to absolutely reach cold audiences on its own. Now, the key thing there is to create content that is shareable, right? Shareable. Maybe even when you're asking your friends to share, they're doing it on their own. They feel some endearment towards you, and they want to support you. They want to feel like they're part of something. They're part of a movement. They're part of a tribe or your team. Okay. Yes, you can have shareability in that regards. But the thing with Facebook is that shareability does not always garner like a friend request, for example. That's different than Instagram, right? You get a share on there, and it's very easy for somebody to hit that follow button. Like, that's a much bigger ask to have somebody like friend request you, okay? So that's the first con, is that you're not necessarily getting as much cold traffic, which for most coaches, by the way, I know this is a con, but like for most coaches, that shouldn't be a problem. Shouldn't be a problem, because if you're doing it the right way, you should already be forming relationships organically in a meaningful and intentional way, and in a way that's not going to, I guess I would say, burn you out. Now, on that note, con number 2, this is probably the biggest con, and it really matters, and this has a lot more to do with scalability and how fast you want your business to grow. Your personal profile is not a place where you're running ads to. I personally like paid ads. This is something that I'm encouraging my clients to do, is to run paid ads. Now, with a Facebook personal profile, you can't do it. You can't just run ads to your Facebook personal profile. You can run ads to a group, a Facebook group that you run, and then maybe your friend requesting people in there after you're providing value. Okay, let that be a kind of a little nugget as far as customer acquisition goes, or client acquisition goes, right? But ultimately, you are limited when it comes to accelerating your organic growth, or accelerating your growth, because prior to that, again, you're having conversations with people. You're maybe asking them to share some material. Another really common tactic. I shouldn't use the word common. I should actually say like powerful. This actually works really well. Again, another nugget here is to go into other Facebook groups of your target demographics and have actual conversations. Don't go in there to poach people. Okay, but you're going in there to have actual conversations, provide value. And after you have had said conversation or conversations, you've built rapport and relationship, then you hit friend request. Okay, and then you leave it at that, because beyond that, on your personal page, you're providing value, you're talking about what you do, you're showing some social proof, and those people that you've already provided value to, that you've already done a service by, you've already done right by, they will come and work with you. They will want to work with you, especially when you're giving out certain calls to action. Like, hey, this month I'm working with 5 new people to do X thing in 30, 60, 90 days. It's called the 5-1-30 strategy. Take that as you will. But even that process of going into groups, having conversations, waiting for those conversations to happen, especially when there are certain topics of conversation where there's a lot of comments going on. It's just a lot, right? So I'm not saying not to go that route, but it's slower. So right there is like a pro, but also the con of it is that you're not able to like have pinpointed, predictable growth. So to sum all that up for Facebook, I think Facebook is a tremendous platform. I wholeheartedly encourage it, maybe primarily for most coaches, because it's a place where you can be more authentically you and start to have those organic relationships, and then use some very simple, like non-nuanced strategies to say like, hey, I'm working with somebody. Is that, if you're interested, DM me or, comment below and I'll get you some more information. It's a very straightforward process, and they can see all of you. Now, let's talk about Instagram. Pros, cold traffic, okay? I was gonna list a pro as like it can be fun, and I think I would do that, but ultimately the ability to create assets or different type of media on there tends to gear your account to reach cold audiences. I don't like to make blanket statements. Like if I were to make a blanket statement that's not absolutely true, I would say, hey, the more reels you create, the more people it gets in front of. Maybe that's true. I mean, objectively, the more you post, technically, the more you can grow, but it can also be frustrating if you're just posting arbitrarily and nothing's happening. There's a lot of competition for attention on Instagram. That's what Instagram is. It is an attention economy. So anyways, the fact that you can reach cold audiences is still a great thing. And especially, it's even better if you're having fun doing it. But it does take a lot more effort and consistency. Now, that can still be a good thing. I don't necessarily mean any of that to be like a negative. The fact of the matter is that if you can build a healthy relationship with Instagram and your posting, because it can be really fast and it can be really fun, and you put out those assets on there, you will find cold audiences, and those audiences can gravitate towards you. Which leads me to pro number 2. A huge pro here is that you can get creative with all different kinds of formats. You can just use photos, and sometimes, depending on how the algorithm is feeling, those photos can pop off or go viral. Okay, they can pop, as I like to say, because when I use a word like viral, it doesn't necessarily mean anything tangible. It's just the fact of the matter is that cold audiences, people that don't know you, are seeing you now. Okay, so another pro there is that you can have fun with it in all different ways. Maybe you like going live, or maybe you don't like going live, but it's something you can work on. Okay, that's a great way to build a relationship with people, and there are different types of ways that you can have a conversation with somebody. And again, I don't want to get too nuanced into that, but one thing that I want to talk about here is the relationship building process. I would say the relationship building process is easier to do on Facebook, whereas on Instagram, it's a little just less familiar. It's a little less familiar. I mean, sometimes people are looking to follow like their influencers, their gurus and whatnot. And again, I don't like to make absolute claims like it's not a great relationship building platform. It absolutely can be. Especially if you're reaching cold audiences. Pro number 3 would be about the amount of traffic that you can handle on there. I was talking about Facebook and the amount of, and a friends list maxing out. Yes, people can follow you, I know. But on Instagram, if you do things the right way, or that the Instagram gods, or that they find pleasing, you can, obviously you've probably seen it, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions sometimes, of followers, okay? And you can handle a lot of traffic with that, and you can monetize that traffic in very direct ways. And I say that by giving certain calls to action. You can make a post where you're talking about maybe a service that you provide, and people can comment, and you can have a conversation with them. You can put stuff in your stories, having polls. Those are really cool to do. Really, really easy calls to action. Really easy ways to build relationship with people. So that's the huge pro of Instagram, is that it can handle a lot of traffic. Now, before I move into the cons, understand that the current state of Instagram, the way that I have experienced it, and I've been working with those like professional clients, right, to help build their followings and whatnot. Its current state is really benefiting influencers and creators that are selling affiliate type of work. And again, that's just at the time of posting this. The whole point I'm trying to make is that people don't necessarily like to be sold to on Instagram. They really like to be entertained. So that tends to be the way that I view Instagram right now, is that you can go on there and you can have fun, build a lot of traffic, and make money from monetizing different types of affiliate products or other types of products from there. And a lot of it is for entertainment. Because now, con number 1, Instagram tends to attract a lot of entertainment. I was talking a little bit ago about the pro is that you can handle a lot of traffic, but that doesn't always mean that traffic is qualified. I have seen people that have hundreds of thousands, worked with people that have hundreds of thousands of followers and can't monetize it for very much, because all those followers, they want to be entertained, or maybe they're from a part of the world where they don't necessarily understand long form content. Maybe there's a language barrier there. I had a client last year, I remember we put together a post, that procured 10,000 followers, like very industry specific followers. And I would say the conversion rate of those followers into the program was probably a little less than, I would like to see on a platform like even YouTube or Facebook for that matter. And again, it's all a numbers game to some degree. And yet, con number 2 is that Instagram is very unpredictable. It's very like on a whim. Like you could post something at 9 a.m. and it do really well. But had you posted it at like 9:02, 9:05, it's a bit, the reach is abysmal. So it's really unpredictable, and it's really open to whatever the algorithm wants to promote. So again, going back to me wanting to, almost like it's a non-negotiable that I use like paid ads to grow and accelerate business growth. That I have a big problem with unpredictability. I have a big problem with what you're doing, and it could have been like a really good post, but because of some like random factor, it didn't have the reach that you really wanted to get. Now, my last con here for Instagram is really a culmination of everything that I talked about, and I'm probably echoing some of the sentiments from the last con here, and it has to do with like the qualified audiences. A lot of people are going on there for entertainment. I know I already said that. Okay, but that being said, even when you are like building a relationship with individuals, I find that the consumer mindset of going on Instagram is just that much more difficult when it comes to organic growth or organic monetization. What do I mean by that? Imagine yourself when you open your phone, right? If you have the Instagram app and you have maybe the YouTube app, right? What is your mindset when you open up something like YouTube, or even if you don't have the app, you just go on YouTube, right? Usually you're looking for something and you're ready to be captivated for a longer amount of time, okay? Whereas something like Instagram, most people are opening up Instagram not to form a connection, not to check in with a particular influencer. They're just on there usually to be entertained. Okay? And entertainment, that can take a variety of forms. Laughing, crying, maybe just like for curiosity, but they're kind of feigning this almost this connection, this feigned connection, and that's why they're opening up their Instagram app. Now that doesn't mean that there aren't qualified audiences on there, but the fact of the matter is that if you were to run ads, you find those specific individuals that much faster because the Instagram algorithm has identified who those people are, as opposed to people that are just like wanting to be entertained. So sometimes it can be really easy to, I guess I would say, get discouraged when you have a post that supposedly does really well, gets a lot of views, maybe a lot of likes, maybe some followers, and yet there's not necessarily a correlate to how much money you actually make, or they're attracted beyond that. So I feel like after I'm listening to myself talk, I might be saying something like, oh, Facebook is better than Instagram. I'm not saying that. Ultimately, Facebook is probably for somebody who maybe is a little bit more planned or structured, or doesn't want to be on social media all the time, and is willing to put their time in other ways as far as like conversations and communication. Instagram can be a really fun place to find qualified audiences. It just takes a different type of mindset, and I don't want to encourage or discourage either one. Again, going back to my preferred method, using something like ads, I tend to have more success with ads on Instagram, right? So the qualified audiences are there, but when you're, I guess I would say, starting out, or you're looking to increase your growth, I think it's helpful to understand, these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses. Yeah, I like to be on social media. I don't have a problem documenting a lot of what's going on in my life. Instagram seems great. I'm on there as it is. I have no problem having a conversation with somebody. Sometimes I talk about my my organic funnel when it comes to Instagram, where you need to create content that reaches cold audiences. You need to create content that serves them, and then you need to create content that invites them into a conversation. And then finally, the last stage of that funnel is when it's called the acquisition phase, where you're actually like booking a call or having some sort of a consultation or making a sale or something like that. But ultimately, the whole point of a funnel is to filter people out. And with Instagram, you're oftentimes doing it with your content. With Facebook, you're doing it with your conversations and maybe your time. Now, as your wheels are spinning and you're thinking about how you can start to move forward with your business, the last thing I want to say here is that it's incredibly important to know who you should or could be speaking to. It's important to understand your own tribe, your own audience. If you do want to understand that further, be sure to click my video here, Find Your Niche. It's almost a masterclass in getting into who you are and who you should be serving. Okay, so go and check that video out. Hey, I really hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope that I gave you something that you can carry with you in your day-to-day life to grow, build, and scale your business. Once again, my name is Jaron Baruman. I'll see you on the next one.